Hello and welcome to Meet the Producers, a Brunswick podcast powered by Brunswick Area Television. I'm Ben Staunton, and sitting next to me is a guy who I believe at one time was mistaken for Bigfoot when he was crossing over into the Canadian border, Tom Kepler.
I don't know about all that. Bigfoot's good luck, though, so I'll take it. Isn't he good luck, or is it?
I believe he is good luck. I mean, unless he steps on your foot or he lands on your car. It's probably a bad luck at that point, though. But so the reason I say that is because it was like on July 1st, which is a big holiday up in Canada, my family and I went over through Niagara. And there are some shops there, and they had a giant sculpture of Bigfoot. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wow, it has a super awesome beard, and he's tall, and he's about Tom's build, and I'm looking at it, and then this woman walks up behind me, and she starts talking to me in French, and I don't understand French, right? So she's just said, and I swore she said something about Tom Kepler, and I'm like,
okay.
Oh, well, okay, lady, and that was it. So that's how I kind of came to that conclusion. I mean, I could be wrong, but I kind of came to that conclusion that way.
Well, if there's pretty French-Canadian women that want to say so, I won't deny that claim, sure.
I swear she said, Tom Kepler. I believe that's what she said. Or she could have said something else, and I just, connected all those dots. But today we're talking to somebody who gets in some really weird situations themselves, and maybe he might be able to shed some light on that in the future. Why don't you tell us who we're talking to today, Tom?
Maybe. He's a man of many talents. You may know him as Dave Binkley. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Yeah, most people know me as Poophead or something like that. But yeah, hey, thanks for having me here.
Apparently, I'm Sasquatch, so we all have our causes. Right?
I'd rather be Sasquatch than Poophead or Bigfoot. Yeah.
I'm so short, most people don't see me, so it's okay.
Okay. That joke might have gone over some people's heads, right? Ben?
Yeah. Wait, what?
So, Dave, we love your energy. You have a great sense of humor. Maybe the people listening will hear a joke or two as we go along.
Maybe they will.
I'm not
probably
promising
a story
anything.
or two, something like that. Yeah.
So this is Meet the Producers. We want to learn about you. What motivates everything? Or I guess let's go even farther back. Did you grow up in the Cleveland area?
I mean, funny you said Niagara Falls. I actually was born in Springfield, Ohio. I left before they started eating the pets.
Okay.
And my dad got a job in Buffalo. So I spent from age 5 to 7 in Buffalo, and then we moved back to Ohio, to Northeast Ohio, and with my dad's next job. And it's just, that's when I really kind of got the sense of this whole worst kept secret in Northeast Ohio called the Houlihan and Big Chuck Show. I was in Scouts, and these kids keep talking about this Kilpassi kid and stuff. What are you talking about? And so before you know it, I became a Friday night zombie for the Houlihan and Big Chuck Show, which is really kind of what I molded my show after. But before that, it was just my brother and I were really into things like Bob and Ray and Stan Freberg and Tom Lear and things like that, as we collected all the records and stuff. So when we moved to out to Norton from Louisville to Norton, I had the opportunity in 1979. My dad found out about this radio reading service for the blind. And so my brother and I went, and I called him and said, hey, I love radio. I'd love to get some experience. He said, well, this would be an experience. And so my brother and I went there, and we did a couple of readings. Now, something I didn't know at the time, which I found out through my children, my youngest child, is I'm fairly severely dyslexic. Now, all of my cast members will agree to that because they've read my scripts. But I didn't know that, so I actually had a terrible reading. And my brother did good. He's a good reader, good student, good reader. And so we came back next week, and I took an 8-track player, a cassette player, the only one we had that was portable was an old Square Dance Caller's turntable. And I hooked it up to this little, poor little Sony reel-to-reel player. And we produced the very first Wierdness program on our second visit there. And we did some of that. We didn't do too much of our own original scripting. We did some. It was a lot more free form, but as we went along, I wanted it to have some fun to it. So we added some of our own little sketches, and it's a kind of like a verbal sketch of the you catch Houlihan doing, or you take a joke and you turn it into a sketch type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we did commercial takeoffs. We did fake quizzes and all kinds of things like that. And actually, I've stuck with that since 1979. I was a senior in high school to where I am, for the next 11 years, I was a volunteer, kind of in and out sometimes, but sometimes a lot of time there. After that, it was in 1991, I got a chance to come work there and be an employee. And at the time, I was a restaurant general manager.
Wow.
Well, I'm going to cut my salary, but boy, it's something I've always wanted to do.
Sure.
And especially something like that is, geared towards the blind, has actual programming, and you're helping make new programs, and you're helping people get to the certain things. And the equipment was absolutely horrid until we got to 2000, when we actually moved into the digital age. We went from the Flintstones to Star Trek, and after the studio was finally put together. And it's after that we really kind of took place. The Wierdness radio show went from like 1979 to 84. Then I got into some short story writing and some things like that. Once we got into the station there, and we kind of, first thing I did was really beef up the volunteers. I started using their talents as well. And it wasn't long before we were producing programs and documentaries and that kind of thing. Won about a dozen state and national awards, radio reading awards. And I think the piece de resistance, Bob Holland, who was head of the one of the English departments at the University of Akron, loves aviation. Well, it was an anniversary of Charles Lindbergh. So we came up with this, it was actually a 3-part 1 hour, so 3 1-hour parts. And he wrote the script, and I involved 20 volunteers in this project, being different people. And he handed me the third script and said, "But Bob, you only got me to World War II." And so I never seen anybody so relieved they had to write another 1-hour script.
Mm-hmm.
And we put that together. It just came out amazing. Then we followed up with a 1-hour interview with, there were 2 engineers at NASA Glenn who go around portraying Orville and Wilbur Wright. And so we brought them in and talked to them for an hour about aviation. And the interesting thing about that is when Columbus called the station manager to tell her that we had won that year, he said, "I only wish that there was a different category." And she said, "Why is that?" He says, "Because you actually submitted something better than even National Public Radio did."
Oh, really?
Nice.
That I felt was a pretty good compliment.
You're in a class of your own.
And during that time also, once we got into the new studios, I started producing, and I wrote 17 of them, and I had a couple other guys I met through the internet, 17 full half-hour radio dramas.
Wow.
And so, because again, grew up listening to not only the old radio programs, but the CBS Radio Mystery Theater that was on every night.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was we did about 31 of them. I wrote 17 of them myself, and I guess got the volunteers together. And sometimes there were a few friends that weren't volunteers, but very talented people. And we put together these full half-hour radio dramas with original music from Dave Crawford, who kind of was my partner in crime for those. And we did that for a while. And when those were kind of slowing down, I started throwing in some more Wierdness radio specials here and there. Well, up to now to 2009, I was kind of getting burned out from all that. So what do you do when you get burned out? You do more things, right?
Sure.
Really?
Why step back, right?
So one weekend, I just really I was the only employee we had, putting in 60 plus hours a week. And I was just sitting in my office at home thinking, what can I do? I looked through there. I said, well, there's all these public domain movies. I said, what the heck? Big Chuck's been off the air for 4 or 5 years. Why don't we try and do something like that? So one of my favorite stories about this is that I got up Monday morning and I had to leave because we were out in Ravenna at the time. Had to leave really early to go in and to work, because it was like 25 minutes just to get to the doggone highway from there. And I told my wife, well, when I get home, I have to talk to you about something. And it's funny that she said, she didn't say, oh, you're leaving me, or oh, you're messing around with something. She says, you're starting a new project, aren't you? it's just, she just knows me too well. And indeed it was. And it's what grew into the Wierdness Really Bad Movie. And you guys were in there really fairly early with that.
Yeah, we're happy. That's one of our staple programs right there.
What's funny, because, I think I had to leave at 5:30 in the morning to get there to open up the station and do everything. And once I was at 5:30, I was in shaving. And the phone rang. I said, who the heck is calling at 5:30 in the morning? It was a cemetery. She said, your wife says you work. This would be the best time to get you. I said, I'm getting ready for work. I'm shaving you. I only need this if I'm going to cut my throat here. And she said, well, I'm sorry. No problem. And I got to thinking as I was shaving, I said, maybe they know something I don't know. And that's why I came up with this cemetery psychic hotline that we had, where somebody would call in and she'd be telling somebody they're about to die, and they die while they're on the air.
So, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you ended up finding out about us? Because, I mean, you're not local to Brunswick, so you had to have found out by somebody about us.
I did, but I have spent my time in Brunswick for over a year. Actually, when Taco Bell was over on Pearl Road, I was the assistant manager there for over a year. And I think he thought I would give up and go away, but it didn't. Mm-hmm. Brian Pixler, who does Superhero 101, and his brother was working up here, I think, and he found out about you. He came in here with a Superhero 101 program, and he had a little Windig in Akron called Little Hollywood, Ohio. And so I used to go to those meetings, and he'd talk about you guys. I said, really? So I think within the week I was up here talking to somebody. I think it was Jeff. Yeah. It was here. I was talking to him about it, and brought him a couple samples of what we do. And it's really, I feel the nice thing, because one of the reasons I wanted to do this show was to prove I could make somebody smile, or at best laugh, and keep it clean. Mm-hmm. There's so much garbage, and it's such a cheap way out for somebody to just get up there and yell out a 4-letter word. One, I don't think it's funny. Two, I don't think it's creative. And three, it's just an easy way out. To say it differently and more creatively is so much funnier than just getting up and saying F you. Come on. Right. So that's one thing I wanted to prove, and I think I have over the years. Every station I've worked with, every internet station I've worked with, have felt completely safe with whatever I hand into them, because I try to go by the Red Skelton rule. He never, at least on the air, and I heard Fritz the Night Owl, who was big in Columbus. I got to interview him, and I was on a panel with him at one point, a panel discussion. And he was talking about how everybody would love to go to the rehearsals of Red Skelton because they were a little bawdy. But when he was on the air, completely clean, he was very much against anything like that. And again, growing up, watching Red Skelton and Jackie Gleason and all these guys, and towards the end, you get into Monty Python and some of the British things that came across our local PBS here, all played an influence on what we did. But if you could, it's like Brian Pixler said, the Wierdness Really Bad Movie is the closest thing to Houlihan and Big Chuck without Houlihan and Big Chuck.
Sure.
That's a pretty high compliment.
I'll accept that. One of my coolest moments was, of course, and we did that right here, is we brought in Big Chuck and Little John, and we filmed Spaceship One. Mike Mason and I flew down to Florida to get Houlihan's part. And because of that and putting it together, it was the first time in 40 years the three had been in a new video bit together. Now, they met at Gallardi Fest all the time. Oh, yeah. But there was no video. There was no sketches or anything. It was them, and they were great. And they still are great. I know Chuck's got his issues right now. Hooli is still one of the sharpest guys I know. He I got up there the last Gallardi Fest. Unfortunately, we didn't know it was going to be the last until it was the last due to the pandemic. And Hooli got us, I just want to get rid of a thing that people have said that they understand. And, it says, I do live in Clearwater. And people say that it's only old people that live in Clearwater. Well, that's not true. It's old people's parents that live in Clearwater. So that's kind of what and usually Mike and I, and if my wife was with us that night, we would go out to dinner with Hooley and his family and the Midnight Movie people. And we'd go there and have it. And I tell you what, you need two people on your trivia team, Mike Mace and Houlihan. Those two people on my list. If you call a friend, those two would know the answer. And that's how sharp Bob still is today, Bob Wills. He just is that sharp. Keep in contact with him through Facebook and such like that. They were all the greatest people.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know last time I spoke with him, he had some wisecracks.
He does.
Like, whoa.
He's always on. And he was on with us too when we were down in Florida and we were just talking. So he still was on. And going up to a studio and where he's got pictures of all these mega stars that came on and they were passing through for some kind of and they got a chance to interview them or throw them into a sketch and stuff. They would just they were all over his office. Oh my goodness. I'd ask about each of these pictures and he'd tell me the instance and when they came in and how they did and what they did. Absolutely amazing.
So I wanted to name drop two people. One, you earlier were talking about that little Hollywood group that you were in. And we also ended up with Rick Elliott.
Yeah.
Through that group as well. And if people don't know Rick Elliott, well, it's because Rick Elliott is behind the scenes. He does a lot of editing for folks that are here on the channel. So if you see some really good editing, well, it's probably Rick Elliott that's doing it on a public channel.
Yep, he has his handful with those. He waits till you have about, I think, 10 hours worth of programs to do. And he helps me with most all of my shoots. And just a really super guy. We met him through the little Hollywood, and I call him up, Rick, you available? And if he's available, he'll do it. It's really, I mean, for a guy who's retired, I don't know when he had time to work, and that is true with Rick.
And I heard he got you into multi-camera, so that's
he did. And I can tell you that story too. We were out in the woods doing the Moon Beast movie. And he says, well, Dave, how about bringing another? No. We got this camera. It works fine. And he said, well, I'm going to bring mine anyway. So, you know, Rick, you can't tell him different anyway, right?
No,
so he brought us along and set it up and he gave me the video from it. And I looked at it, oh man, the only thing that's bad is I need one from the other side. And so it's true. He got me into the multi-camera and I really like what the multi-camera can do. It is so much fun. Even when I do single camera, when I use the 4K, I can make different shots of a single, and it makes it look like it's multi because you're jumping around enough.
Sure.
But yeah, he's guilty of that, of many things. I learned so much from Rick, and occasionally he learns something from me.
So have we.
Yeah, we've learned a lot from both of you guys, actually. Not all of it keeps me out of trouble, though.
No, that's not what I specialize in.
Yeah, not from Dave. Dave's clean comedian.
He gets me in trouble sometimes.
I'm sure I do.
And then also Mike Mace. Now, the story that I heard, and I'm not gonna jump all over it and ruin it, but the thing is that you guys have not known each other since you were like little kids.
No,
you guys know each other a different way. So tell us the story of Mike Mace and you.
And I love it when he tells us too. His dad, he was his caretaker for his dad when his mom passed away. He moved back in to take care of his dad, and which meant frequent trips to the hospital. He was in the Wadsworth Hospital, and he was in there and he's flipping around looking for the polka show. Right? I know they have a polka show. Well, the polka show was not. He said, here's an old movie I've seen before, but it's an old movie. I can watch that. And they said, and all of a sudden there was a break, and then there was a talking, and there was a sketch, and then went back to the movie and a break. He says, oh my God, it's wonderful. So he found us on Facebook, sent me a message. And what I do sometimes when somebody does something like that, and he was very complimentary. He said, I looked at his list of people. I know all these people. I've worked with half of them, and but we never met each other, which is astounding to me. So I wrote him back, hey, thanks for the compliment. Would you like to come do a few sketches? well, sure. And we and what funny is, we were supposed to, in like 2 weeks, go down to Mansfield and do a show at the old Mansfield Fire Museum. Well, not the old, but the Mansfield Fire Museum. Really cool place. And I said, hey, you want to co-host one? And he thought about half a second and said, sure. And and so because again, he grew up loving. Now I didn't realize he did the fire truck. And matter of fact, he had the idea for the fire truck sketch with Big Chuck and Little John, and it was his dad's antique fire truck that they rode, and his dad actually drove that, and it was Mike's little pedal fire truck that Little John drove off in when the big truck supposedly broke down. I didn't know that either.
Nice.
So
I love that.
So he already had a connection with Houlihan and Big Chuck, and Big Chuck especially. And so, but we got there, and of course, I'm the one to always say Mike will be late to his own funeral. So he, of course, we filmed at his house once. Guess who was the last one there? Mike Mace. But he's been like a big brother to me. So anyway, so I did the interview, and I kind of waited him to get it. So we do the show, and he walks in wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Well, I was wearing a Hawaiian shirt, and Debbie, who was my camera person there, she's been around with a lot of things we've done. When we filmed that last one here, she was the one that was a tour guide, and she just looked up at Mike as he walked indoors, and said, "Oh my God, it's another Dave."
Oh my goodness.
So, and we have been we're a very good team when we perform together. We just get on a wavelength, and we did 2 Doritos commercials for the last Super Bowl contest they had 8 years ago.
Did they make the list?
They did not. Part of the problem was we got it in on the last hour of the last day they accepted. And what we didn't know was like the 1 week later was the first cutoff. And although we had done a lot to promote it and push it up there, and we went up over 1,000 spots in that 1 week.
Wow.
We needed about another week and a half. I was in the middle of another project. Hey, Dave, it's back. We're back. And so actually we've already gotten 2 new, I'll show you guys after the here, but we already have 2 done. We're filming another one with Holly tomorrow on Friday.
Oh, nice.
And then we're doing another one next Thursday. We each have 2 apiece we can put under the different names.
Nice.
We've done several things, even kind of just off. He gave me the noive to try and do a couple of shows without a script, and we did it that way. And not many people I would attempt that with. He's one. I might with Holly, but Mike was the only one that really I feel comfortable with. Between the 2 of us, we could make something. I like scripts because I know there's something in there that's at least humorous. When you're going flying off just off the head, it just doesn't always work that way. And I see a lot of these internet horror hosts that just do that. They don't really prepare. They don't know what they're going to say. They have a little card here for a trivia or something. And, they wing it. Well, it's okay. Even Goulardi didn't wing everything. He had some things written. He had some letters from the kids. He had Big Chuck producing things for him. And the Ghoul was saying, he was like, I heard somebody describe the Ghoul as a Goulardi on steroids. And he was just so frenetic and everything. Whenever that camera went on, he was just all over the place. But he had scripts. He had ideas. Dale Kay, guy I do the Eerie House podcast with, he worked with him for a while, both on the radio when he was doing the radio, and then moved into some of the television bits for a while. So it's really neat to be involved with all these people that you grew up watching and admiring and things like that. And the only one you don't get much back from is Son of the Ghoul, because he's very reserved in supporting. He doesn't believe in internet horror hosts. They don't think that they're the internet. And I don't really consider myself a horror host, although in 2021 they did induct me into the Horror Host Hall of Fame. I went down to Cincinnati, and that was a really cool experience.
Yeah, congratulations.
Well,
we're proud when we heard that. We were. I still kind of want to have our mayor give you a proclamation.
The key to the city or something.
You contribute to our Brunswick area with your show, so why not? Let me ask this, if it's possible to name just one thing. What is your favorite part? Do you like the radio? Do you like writing books? Do you like podcasts, TV, the movies? the collaboration, the teamwork between you and your friends, or what exactly do you think is your favorite part of creating?
Yes.
Oh, that's fair.
No, it's interesting because when you do a program like this and you take an idea and you're putting it on paper, so, okay, show it around a little bit, then we go film it. And we're all together and we all have a good time filming it. Then you take it off and you do the editing thing. And to me, the entire process is so much magic. And then from where it here is to here and where it ends up at. And it doesn't even have to be we didn't start off with the special effects and the split screens and things like that we do now. I love the whole process of it. The most fun is when we get together and film it. That's the most fun. But each step of it is really something I enjoy. And what's fun is when you're writing it. We have 3 hosting bits. We have a lot of skits and 3 hosting bits, or 4 hosting bits. And 3 usually come pretty easy because the last one is just, here's you can watch us, that kind of thing. The first one sets up the 4, and they're all kind of related. And then I get one, and it's either the second or third, and I get that one, and it's done fairly quick, and then I'm stumped. I have this other one to write, and I struggle with it and struggle with it. And usually it ends up being one of the better, because I struggled with it so much, it ends up being one of the better hosting segments of all of them. As far as the books go, they all came from other projects. I've written 3. One was with my old college partner, Mike Elliott. And we did a lot of things together. And we wrote a lot of short stories. And we say, hey, let's do something we know a little bit more about, writing comedy, about how to not pick up dates. How to not pick up women. We were experts at that.
I'm there with
So
you.
we came up with a book, How to Go to a Bar Alone and Stay Away, and had it for years and nothing happened. I re-updated it one time, nothing happened. So at that point, we could self-publish, which I did with that. The next project in the book that I did was Maud Mother Goose. Now, I started as scripts for the Wierdness Really Bad Movie, where Julie would get up and the first stanza was almost always the same as the original Maud Mother Goose. And then it would turn into a modernized tale of that. One that was different would be Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And as I kind of started, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, I used to wonder what you are, but now I know from science class you're just a fiery ball of gas. The next and most recent book came from the podcast. I wrote the story about the invention of the hat. And it goes back to caveman times. And what happened is that this greatest inventor of all time, Ugg the caveman, invented so many things that we use today even, or forms of it today. They didn't, so here was poor Ugg that he was afraid of rain. Mostly because you find out another story that he was afraid of water, actually is what it was, because whenever he would go take a shower at the falls, he would use this berry soap that he would feel like soap. And with that, he would get all this rash, and he thought it was from the water. So he was always afraid of water. So first thing he invented was the raincoat. Well, the other cavemen beat him up all the time because he would go and open up his raincoat to show the other women, well, I'm dry inside. And so the other caveman would beat him, says, I got to figure something out. So he made hats out of the stuff that was available. Well, the biggest stuff that was available was rocks. So he made these hats out of rocks. In his first fashion show, 9 or 6 women broke their necks in their first hat fashion show, and they expelled him from there. Now, what it is in that particular one, as he was walking out, he said, this will not be the last time you hear from me. And so he was banished to the land of the saber-tooth. And the next day he ran across saber-tooth and forgot his packed lunch. So he ate Ugg instead. And it was indeed the last time they heard from him. I said, I'm done with this. There's nothing else there. It was a fun little thing, a fun little story. And then another subject, because the podcast is set up on a theme. And the next one we did was, I forget which the second one was, but I said, this would be a fun little Ugg story. So I kept writing these stories. I said, man, I get a few more of these. I can put a book together. And it's very interesting the way it all formed. Now, unfortunately, I couldn't use the hat one first because even though it was the first one, because I killed him.
Sure.
I made that the last story.
You can't kill him off and then unless he's a DC character or Marvel character. You can kill him off 50 times.
Or Sherlock Holmes or Patrick Duffy in Dallas or something like that.
Sure, yeah, I know.
And you just go back further because remember when Sherlock Holmes was killed off, he was so popular, and finally he relented to do one. And Doyle wrote probably the greatest Sherlock Holmes stories of all of them in this time after he killed off, because it became the memoirs of Sherlock Holmes. Watson was recalling the times, the other stories that he had, and that was The Hound of the Baskervilles.
Oh, okay.
He wrote that after he had killed off Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, that is a popular one.
And
So
he did
Memoirs of Ugg is what I'm hearing.
he did a couple more, and then he decided okay, let's bring him back. And he came up with a contrived that he made it look like he died, and he didn't want Watson to know, because if Watson wasn't sure, then people would know that he was still alive.
Sure.
So
are the memoirs of Ugg, are those going to be cave drawings?
they are. Well, actually, I have in here, and I have a copy for my good friends at Bat TV.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
It is about the greatest inventor of all time, Ugg the Caveman. And it's
strapping.
It does have graphics and all. And I have, let me see, I think I should have in here.
Are you the artist, or are you?
No, well, I'm the person that bought all the graphic artwork for it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And I placed it in there and put it together. There are, good, 1, 2, 3. There's about a 15 different stories, things he invented, and I also have another history lesson in there that wasn't Ugg, about how Shiver Me Timber, the true story, or almost true story, of how Shiver Me Timbers came to be, when the expression of that.
Oh, nice.
And so that's all in there, and it's I suitably inscribed it for the great people, the great guys here at Bat Television, and I just you guys have always been fantastic to work with, whether I'm just bringing it in or come in here and do some filming. And the last one was so fun because I got at least 2 of you in on that tour. And the other, was it you that was in the control room?
Yeah, I'm like,
and I walked in here and says, next time I'm going to be on it.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so the inscription says, "To the team at Bat TV, you guys are the best."
Oh,
Yeah.
David E. Binkley. So yeah, thank you.
And it's so I guess, to answer your question, I love all the different things. Sometimes the writing is a lot more work, because the editing isn't that much work. In a sense, it takes time, but it's not that much work. The filming is a blast. The writing, but again, you're taking an idea and putting it on paper, and taking an idea from this crazy head of mine and moving it all the way out to a final product. That is, to me, that's magic. What's funny is my wife, on some of the early ones, I drug her along so she could hold the microphone, and she didn't like it. And one time I said something, she said, "I know," and Kathy's, "Oh, Starkey," and then she didn't really want to see it afterwards. I'm thinking, why not? And what I realized is, the magic to her was just to see how it happens. Ruined the magic for her. And I think some people are like that, but for me, the magic is seeing go from 0 to this point, to this point, to this point, to finished product.
I think very similarly about music. I started off in music, and it takes people to create it, takes people to write it, takes people to perform it.
Right.
It also takes people just to, consume it, to listen to it, and enjoy
Exactly.
it. So yeah, that's full circle.
Exactly.
I have another question.
Yes.
You mentioned way back you were branded Wierdness with the radio show and with the Wierdness Really Bad Movie. Where did that name come from?
It's odd that I came up with that. In the first place, I'd actually never heard Wierdness before. I used it back in 1979. I never heard the word Wierdness used. Now, not that I guess it was in the dictionary, but it was funny because about 2 or 3 years after that, I started hearing Wierdness everywhere. And it was, why did I pick Wierdness? Good question. But it just thought it was, I guess I was weirder than all the other kids. I always got along with older people than kids my old age in general. Because I think they kind of got the creativity that was spinning around in my head and such. So I would probably say I was kind of weird to some of my friends or some of my compadres and that kind of thing. Didn't mean to be, it just ended up that way.
Okay.
And so when I was doing a TV show, what should I call it? Well, I'll take it back to its Wierdness roots. The Wierdness Really Bad Movie. And the movies, actually, I love most all the movies. There's only a couple in it that are really dogs. But but most of the movies I really have, especially the old murder mysteries when we show those, I really have a lot of respect for those, which is why I don't put in the sound effects and the music and things like that. It's not that I tell the others they shouldn't, but for me, the respect of the movie the way it is the way I like to present it.
Stay true to it.
In general, now there's some like I have a Bigfoot one ready to roll. It's funny you.
Yeah,
talked to
I'm
Bigfoot.
in that one. I think.
And let me tell you,
He's in
I
the
had
credits.
to slice some things out and time compress it a little, not just because of the size, but a long movie. It just even when it wasn't long, you've seen some things. You said, how much time does this? Looking at your watch and
Is this
stuff.
almost over?
And yeah, and so I did that, and I also did that with the Evel Knievel movie. And again, it's sitting on there. I was going to go to Ravenna. There's a motorcycle museum there, and the guy even has a whole corner. He took me back there and showed dedicated to Evel Knievel, but he wouldn't let me film there. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. So I'm looking at a couple things like there's a big motorcycle place up in Peninsula, I guess. On Old Route 8, where they have a lot of motorcycles and this like that. So I may, with all the other projects, another thing I did this year, I hadn't done since high school. I got this notice. It was for the Silver Linings players in Akron, as senior actors. They don't get much opportunity for senior actors. Well, they were doing the original Howard Koch script for Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater of War of the Worlds. I said, I don't want to do that. I hadn't been in a play since, quote unquote, play, since high school. And so I said, I'll look through the script. I said, okay, let me do The Farmer. I got to try out for The Farmer. And so I wrote down, that's the only thing I wrote down was The Farmer. He was short, about 5 lines. And that was about it. I said, okay, that's cool. So I go there and I go to the tryouts and, I'll try this out. Try that. I said, okay. And he called me, hey, Dave, you don't mind if I give you a couple more parts? We don't have as many people. So we got there the first day of rehearsal. He had given me 7 different parts.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, and this was off the fly. So in the first place, I'm dyslexic. I'm not a great sight reader. So we're going through the script here, and I'm trying to say, read the script and do different voice for the 7 different characters. I think it worked out fairly well. A lot of fun, but it just takes up so much time.
For sure.
To do a play like that. But it was great. It was a great experience. And I won't do it again until maybe I retire. Maybe that way I don't mind giving up some extra time.
When you have extra time like Rick Elliott does?
Like Rick Elliott does, yeah. Because if he's not here or out on a shoot or on a vacation or something, he's with one of his several girlfriends. So,
There you go. I don't think your wife would like that.
No. No.
I'm talking about Rick here.
Yes.
Oh,
We're talking about
right.
keeping busy.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I just don't know if you're going to have 7 girlfriends. I'm just telling you. I don't think she'll like that. I'm trying to keep you out of trouble.
No, yeah. No. Don't have time for that.
So let's say you were inspired by local celebrities and shows you watched.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody's watching your show here in Brunswick and they want to get involved or this path interests them. What would your advice be to them?
My advice is, and I've gotten into this a couple of Goulardi Fest guys. So yeah, I really love Svengoolie. He says, I want to be Svengoolie. He says, great, do it, but be you. Make sure you're part of this. And although this is a lot of Houlihan and Big Chuck and Little John, it's also a lot of me. It is, I'm not hiding behind the masks and things like that, like a lot of people do. I'm not trying to do a Svengoolie shtick or the son of the ghoul or the ghouls. I try to do what is best that I feel comfortable in my skin doing. And that's what I kind of talk to some of these kids about. That's great. Emulate it, but be you.
Yeah.
Make it part of you. Like when you go on America's Got Talent or something and they're going to sing a song that everybody knows, unless they make that their own song, like Over the Rainbow or Tomorrow or something like that, you're not going anywhere. But if you can take a song and make it your own, you got a chance. And it's an interesting thing about this whole process of all the things I've done throughout. And I knew a lot of NPR, because of where I knew a lot of NPR people, and they always seem to be having all these different things that they did on the side and this and that. And that's cool. And that's cool. And that's cool. And how do you do that? And the fact is, I just got in and started doing it. I didn't take anybody else out. I just made my own way in. And that's another thing, and the thing is, with the internet, at the very least, there's room for everybody,
Sure.
You don't have to go on, you don't have to be on a regular television or whatever, because there's room for everybody thanks to the internet. Do it. Absolutely. But be you.
I agree with both of those. That first step's hard to take sometimes, but once you get going.
Yeah. Oh, it is.
I'd say there's room for you here too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm planning on retiring next year,
Well, yeah, come do some stuff with us. And that's also a good chance for me to say, if you'd like to do something here at Brunswick Area Television, whether it's a podcast, you want to do some editing like Rick Elliott, you want to do a full-blown show like our friend here, Dave Binkley, you can do so. Just give us a call, 330-220-1726. Visit the City of Brunswick's official website at www.brunswick.oh.us. You can learn all of that information and more, and you too could probably be right here at Brunswick Area Television, putting your own program on and getting the word out about what you enjoy, whether it's a cooking show or anything else. We got your back. We got you.
Ben, you're on such a roll. You sound so good out over that mic. Why don't you tell people the show times for the Wierdness Really Bad movie?
Oh, good.
Sure. The show airs here, or you can watch it at these times on the live stream at bat.vibit.com. Or you can watch it, like say you missed an episode or whatever, they're up there for 3 months. You can stream that as well. Saturdays at midnight and 6 p.m., Sundays at 10 a.m., and Wednesdays at 10 p.m. And in case you're driving on the Autobahn, because this goes, worldwide, and you have to slow down and get pulled over to the side of the road, I'm going to read them again to you. It's Saturdays at midnight, 6 p.m., Sundays at 10 a.m., and Wednesdays at 10 p.m. And once again, they are available online. So if you miss it, you have no excuse.
That's right. He mentioned the Autobahn. And I will say, I'm trying to get you that mayor's proclamation.
Okay.
Our mayor is probably Filipino. So we actually have a surprisingly large Filipino base.
Okay.
So we are
Really?
worldwide.
Yes, we are.
What is funny is actually I had somebody that approached me who watches you guys, watches us here, you guys as well. Mike Mason and I were up at there's a Facebook seminar up at in Strongsville. And we were up there, and it was kind of ending up, and there's a gal that was in with the cart, and she'd been talking to Mike, and Mike and we had our Wierdness Really Bad movie shirts on. And well, what's funny is, we were going, and she looks at me and says, "You look just like, oh my God, I just watched you guys on TV."
Nice.
And Mike had been talking, she didn't recognize him. I felt bad.
Well, you're on every show, so you have rotating, hosts, but you.
Yeah, that happened because of Julie when she backed off after like 8 full shows. Because it was starting to get too much like a job.
Mm-hmm.
She's been back since. I've done a lot with her since. But I said, I'm not ready to quit yet. So I called Diana Ray, who was doing a show called The Art of Living. And she says, "Dave, you only need one consistent. That would be you. Have different co-hosts." I'm thinking that would be great, because then they're not dreading the next time they're doing a show. They're looking forward to the next time they're doing a show. I've done more shows with Holly. I call her my TV wife, because she's done so many sketches with me and hosting segments for me and with me, and she's going to be in one of these Dorito commercials we have. We're filming that one tomorrow.
Nice. Is there anything that we missed that you want to mention?
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty I missed, but I have a short memory getting old, so it's sounds great. I really appreciate you guys calling me in and saying, "Hey, want to fill some airtime?" I think it's great.
No,
but we do have the podcast that goes on the Eerie House Radio. I do a sports, actually a couple of sports podcasts. One is just Interchange Weekly, but the other one is the Sports Sidebar with Captain Bill. And
both of those are available on our city's website as well.
Yes.
And podcast page.
I got to get you a new link for that. We switched over to Podbean. So
okay.
I got to get you a new link for that. But that's a lot of fun. And this is a lot of fun. And I just really appreciate all that you guys do. You're super cooperative. And I love whenever we step into Brunswick here.
Nice. And we're glad you made the trip out.
Yeah, for sure. This program's all about giving credit where it's due, and you're the one putting in the work for the weirdness. Really,
Yeah, but if you don't have a place to show it to people, it's tough.
You already said there's internet out there.
There is. But it's not. It's not quite the same. It's nice to have. It's nice to have an outlet.
No, I agree. I'm not trying to get myself out of work or anything.
Because that makes you actually a TV horror host.
It does. Yes, it does.
And you say you're not a horror host, but
again,
the proof's in the pudding.
Did Big Chuck and Little John and Houlihan actually consider themselves horror hosts? No, but they are also in the horror host Hall of Fame. I consider us movie host. I feel very honored that they allow me into their club, and the whole experience has been absolutely amazing, from making the product to showing the product to being here and doing stuff here and working with you guys and the other places that we go do things. And I think the thing that's kept it live for me, because I do seem to do things like in 5-year spurts and then go on to the next thing, which is the radio dramas and the short stories and things like that, and the documentaries, is that because we do most of our stuff on location, there's always a different setup and always a different set of problems going live, as you guys well know. Mm-hmm. So it's just interesting. That's one thing that's just kept the interest in me, because you have a different place and you're writing around and including that in with your scripts and doing things like that. So
awesome. Well, thank you again for everything that you do. It's nice to see you again. Ben, you got anything else?
No, I'd just like to say thank you for doing your show here. And, you say that about the Horror Host Hall of Fame. How many non-rock and roll acts are in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I believe it's one of those things that they're just showing gratitude for your work and how you actually inspire so many others to do something.
And it's interesting, because I first started sharing them with it was then the Creepy Castle Halloween. Jack said, "You're going to be in the Horror Host Hall of Fame." I said, yeah. Okay. Thanks, Jack. Because he always enjoyed my work. Mm-hmm. There I was. There I am.
Okay. Congratulations once again. For Ben Staunton and Dave Binkley, I'm Tom Kepler. This has been Meet the Producers. Bat Government programs are produced by Corinne Kirk, Tom Kepler, and Ben Staunton. You can find this and other programs, as well as a live stream, on our on-demand website, bat.vibit.com. Feel free to reach out, offer a suggestion, or get involved. Thanks for tuning in.